Part 98. I started my cultivation by picking up the immortal skills. Author, Banzuan Xianxia. Chapter 971. Outside the ice cave, the Dragon Demon King and Yayuan were also in a stalemate, neither of them could do anything to the other. At this time, the competition was about whose power was more mellow. As long as Yayuan got out, he could use the Thunder Fairy Hammer, otherwise, he might be swallowed by the Dragon Demon King. But the Dragon Demon King seemed to have the upper hand, but in fact, he was not feeling well either. Because he could only use all his power on his mouth, and could not use other magic. It was the polar day in the northern ice field, and the sun would only spin in the sky but not fall. It was like they were all the strongest in the spirit world, and the competition of power consumption would never end in a short time. Without the interference of other creatures, the Dragon Demon King's body was gradually covered with ice and snow, like a huge ice dragon crawling on the ground. In the immortal mansion, Zuyun finally opened his eyes. His chaotic power had been fully restored. Huh! Exhaling a breath of turbid air, Zuyun looked towards the bedroom. All the immortal medicines have returned to their respective medicine gardens. Only Nujiao looked at the void with a look of disappointment. At first glance, Zuyun seemed to think that he saw Mengwei. Master! As if she noticed that Zuyun was looking at her, Nujiao turned her head and called softly. What are you thinking about? Zuyun walked over. Nothing, Nujiao shook her head and said, I'm idle and dazed. Zuyun was speechless. Nujiao couldn't get out of the house and couldn't see. Even if there were thousands of words, I thought I had said everything I should say to the immortal medicines. It would take a lot of time for my own chaotic power to go from exhausted to full, no matter how fast it was. Is there any way to cure your eyes? Zuyun thought for a while and asked. Tang Liwen also couldn't see at first. She said that it seemed that the Nightmare Demon King gave her a pill to cure it later. And he found Hu Chang's medical book at the Nightmare Demon King's place, which means, can Hu Chang cure it? Zuyun immediately started to think about it, because he had originally wanted to return to the Eastern Mortal Realm. He just didn't know that Hu Chang actually came to the Spirit Realm first. Master, if only the magic eye was destroyed, I could recover on my own without treatment. But the Immortal Emperor used my life magic weapon to dig out my magic eye, do you think it can be cured? Nu Jiao turned her head and stared at Zuyun. Zuyun also stared at the eyes, but could not find any abnormality. The eyes were bright and full of spirit, completely different from the feeling Tang Liwen gave him. If Tang Liwen's eyes were pretended by using her own realm, then Nu Jiao's eyes seemed to be born like this. Can't it be cured? If such a beautiful pair of eyes could not be cured, Zuyun would always feel a little regretful. Unless my magic eye can be restored, I will have to live like this for the rest of my life. Nu Jiao sighed and said, but my magic knife is as evil as my magic eye, and it may have been destroyed along with the magic eye. A dark red light flashed through Zuyun's mind, and he couldn't help but wonder, wasn't Mengwei's original life magic weapon a knife? And they look exactly the same, could they really be related? Master, what are you thinking about? Nu Jiao suddenly asked, interrupting Zuyun's thoughts. I'm still thinking, if I can find your magic eye, can I restore you? Zuyun thought, if Mengwei and Nu Jiao really have a relationship, maybe he can really find her magic eye. The premise is that Mengwei's life magic weapon is Nu Jiao's life magic knife. When he first saw the magic knife, Zuyun felt an indescribable weirdness. At that time, he just thought it was because Mengwei was a magic cultivator. But now listening to what Nu Jiao said, it seems it may not be the magic knife. Master, the fairy world is big, the void is big, and there are thousands of world stars. How can you find my magic eye? The magic knife not only destroyed my magic eye, but also destroyed the connection between me and the magic eye. So, even if you put the magic eye in front of me, I can't feel it. Nujiao didn't believe it. What if you can find the magic knife? Zuyun thought about it. It was indeed difficult to find the magic eye. He didn't have any clue. But as for the magic knife, he remembered that Mengwei gave the magic knife to Ergu. Then he could go to Dongfanja to find Ergu. The magic knife, Nujiao smiled helplessly, now I have nothing but the power of the magic element. The magic knife is evil and will naturally turn away from me. Do you think that even if you find the magic knife will recognize me as its master again? Zuyun was stunned. If so, even if you really find the magic knife will not obey your command, and you can't find the magic eye. Could it be that I really can't save Nujiao's eyes? After thinking about it, Zuyun had to give up and said to Nujiao, then you stay here first, I'll find a way to let you out of this room first. Nujiao was slightly moved. Although it didn't mean much to her whether to go out of the house or not, it was better to go out for a walk than to stay in this small space all the time. Then Xiaojiao thanks the young master first. It doesn't matter, Zuyun said, now that I am the master of this fairy house, I will naturally take good care of you. I will always need your help when I go to the fairyland in the future. Young master, you are polite, Nujiao bowed slightly through the window and said, the fairyland has changed, maybe I don't know what's going on there. Zuyun nodded, and then said, I will go to the world of the universe first, you stay here, if you need anything, just tell me. Thank you, master. Seeing Nujiao's figure sinking into the bed, Zuyun turned around and walked towards the small courtyard, and then went to the world of Dazhu. But as soon as I entered, I suddenly discovered that the world of the universe seemed to be undergoing some great changes. His heart moved and he immediately teleported to the lake. The three dogs are not here, and neither is Little Gray, Little Brown, or Little Fire. Where are the people? Zuyun was shocked. He had indeed ordered them to find some elixirs so that he could refine the 5 spiritual pills. But then there were so many things going on that I forgot a little bit. Furthermore, something happened to the 11 totem poles, trapping the ancestral tree and the holy mountain, so Zuyun had no choice but to tell them not to go that way. Go and have a look at the ancestral tree. They can all turn into human form, and their intelligence is not low. They shouldn't be able to run away when they encounter danger, right? Zuyun has always been extremely confident about this universe world. When the world of the universe, which was still a secret realm, was merged, all the creatures except him were teleported out. This was equivalent to an independent world that belonged entirely to him, another world. There shouldn't be any outsiders coming in, right? Although Zuyun was thinking this, he was still a little nervous. After much deliberation, he decided to look for Muling Sacred Mountain. Although he was worried, Zuyun was also extremely fast. But the further we walked toward the Wood Spirit Sacred Mountain, the more we found that the spiritual power in the air was even more chaotic. What's going on? Could it be that I fused with the relationship in the bedroom? It's impossible. The fusion fragments have never caused such abnormalities before, but this time something happened. Zuyun was confused, but he had no choice at this time. Just as they were about to reach the protection point of Muling Holy Mountain, they saw several figures lying unconscious on the ground. Look carefully, who else could they be if they weren't Sangu? He was about to fall when he heard the dull shouting of Muling Sacred Mountain. Master, don't come close. Zuyun stopped in a hurry, but saw that the sound was coming from right in front of Sangu and the others. And Muling Holy Mountain has turned into a big mountain. It was this mountain that struggled to withstand the turbulent flow of spiritual power here, which made Sangu and the others unconscious but not dead. Das Han, what's wrong? Zuyun asked eagerly. He couldn't wait to check the injuries of Sangu and the others, but Muling Sacred Mountain wouldn't let him go down. The sky has changed, Muling Holy Mountain took a breath and said in a deep voice, Suddenly a ray of light flew from the sky and fell into the 11 totem poles, erupting with extremely powerful power. At this time, the old tree was I'm struggling to hold on, and I can only try to block that force to prevent it from hurting the creatures by the lake. There are some monsters on the other side of the lake, and there are also a few fish with spiritual intelligence in the lake, which Zuyun originally bought near Pipa State in the Dongfan realm. It's just that the Arowana turned into a dragon, and the rest of the fish produced spiritual intelligence at most. I'm here to help you. Hearing that this was the reason, Zuyun stopped watching, turned around, and stood on the top of the mountain. Chaos Force, rise. He concentrated on driving the lotus pods in his body, and the 26 lotus hearts bloomed almost at the same time. Huge chaos power came out from his palms, forming a huge grey wall. I started my cultivation by picking up the immortal skills. Author, Banzuan Xianxia. Chapter 972. Wu. When he was blocked by the holy mountain before, Zuyun didn't realize how strong the turbulent flow of spiritual power was. Even if he was standing on the top of the mountain, he still felt like this. But when he propped up the wall of chaos, the turbulent currents seemed to have spotted him, and they all rushed over. Zuyun stumbled and was almost blown down the mountain by the turbulent currents. And when he stabilized his body, he saw that there were 12 light pillars directly in front of him. These 12 totem poles. Zuyun was stunned for a moment, but as soon as he was distracted, the turbulent current rushed Zuyun down the mountain. Aren't there 11 totem poles? Why are there only 12? Could it be that the dragon's head pillar was attracted and came here? How is this possible? How could the dragon's head pillar appear in the world of the cosmic glazed mirror? He sat up from the ground, his face full of disbelief. There is no doubt that the dragon head pillar is in the hands of the dragon demon emperor. But appearing in the universe world is worth pondering. At present, he does not know what kind of existence the great universe world and the great universe world are. Is it a parallel space, or is the world of the universe within the world of the universe? He didn't know this. After all, he cannot directly enter the world of the universe, but first enters the immortal mansion, and then enters it from the immortal mansion. Unless it is summoning the creatures that live in the universe. But there is one exception, which is the clone. He has never tried to summon the clone directly. Zuyun took a deep breath, and was about to get up and fly up to the top of the mountain to take another look at the scene over there, when he saw the unconscious Sangu and the others out of the corner of his eye. "Master, how are you?" At this time, Muling Holy Mountain suddenly became concerned and asked. It was extremely difficult for him to resist, and he could only speak a word after holding on for a while. No problem. Zuyun felt inside his body. Apart from some loss of chaos power, there was no injury. However, it was an indisputable fact that chi and blood were surging. In order to avoid distracting the gods of the holy mountain, Zuyun did not speak out. As long as it's okay, Muling Shengshan said, "Master, take them back first. The further away from here, the smaller the impact will be. When the time comes, be prepared and come to help me according to the situation." Knowing that Zuyun would not sit idly by, Muling Holy Mountain could only say this. Zuyun did not hesitate and agreed immediately. Although it was just a glimpse before, he could still see that the totem pole seemed to be evenly matched with the ancestral tree. It would not be a big deal if he did not help for the time being. Right now, it is more important to save Sangu and the others first. When they wake up, they may know the signs of the accident. Hold on, I'll wake them up and come back. After Zuyun left these words, the power of chaos surged out, protected all 4 people, and immediately escaped from this place. Sangu and the others are still at a low level and cannot bear it. After burning a stick of incense, Zuyun put them down and gave them corresponding spiritual powers. Sangu woke up first, and when he saw it was Zuyun, he quickly stood up and was about to kneel down to thank him, but was stopped by Zuyun. "How does it feel?" Sangu was still frightened and said, "Thank you master for saving your life. I, a dog, cannot die." "That's good." Zuyun looked at Xiao Hui and the others again, and saw that their breathing was stable, and then said, "What happened? If you don't stay here, well, how can you go over there?" Sangu gave a bitter smile, touched his nose, and said, "Originally, we stayed here all the time. Even if we were looking for the elixir, we would go to the other side. But who would have thought that the sky suddenly changed drastically, and a stream of light struck through the night sky, heading straight towards the ancestors. Go to the other side of the tree." Then, there was a huge explosion, which shook the earth. We were worried that something might happen to the ancestral tree, so we thought about going to help. The three dogs have already transformed and have rarely fought with people outside. In terms of their realm, their confidence has naturally increased. But little did they know that before they could fly, they were knocked directly to the ground by the turbulent flow of spiritual power, unable to get up at all. If the wood spirit sacred mountain had not taken action in time and turned into its own body to block it, they would have been shattered to pieces by now. "Don't run around next time," Zuyun glared at Sangu and said, "With your meager skills, how dare you go to check?" Sangu lowered his head in shame. He was embarrassed to say that he used to only have the cultivation level of the chi refining stage, but suddenly he reached the level of the nascent soul stage. Including Little Brown and Little Gray, as well as Little Fire, the same is true. When they all woke up one after another, Zuyun said solemnly, "You have just transformed. If you have nothing to do, practice more here so that you can master your power. Now that I am in the spirit world, I may be able to find a suitable technique for you. If you are really free, if you're bored, then go find some elixirs and transplant them to the lake. The abnormality over the ancestral tree has not gone away, so don't go there." "Yes, master," the four of them said in unison. Zuyun then turned around and flew towards the Muling Holy Mountain again. From what Sangu said, the dragon head pillar should have flown here on its own, but those 11 totem poles have long been mutated, so why did they fly here just recently? Furthermore, I am practicing in the Immortal Mansion, and I have never encountered anything unusual, and Nujiao and the Immortals have not mentioned it either. The important thing is that the dragon head pillar should be in the hands of the Dragon Demon Emperor, unless, the Dragon Demon Emperor also has a fragment of space. Zuyun thought of the key, and at the same time remembered that the dragon suppressing stone was still with the Dragon Demon Emperor. He couldn't help but think, what else would happen here, return to the spirit world, and ask Yaoyuan to accompany Luruyan to find the Dragon Demon Emperor? "Old Shu, how do you feel?" After Zuyun took Sango and the others away, Muling Shengshan no longer wanted to protect them, so he immediately transformed into a human form and shouted to the 12 light pillars. "It's okay, you recover quickly, I need your help at any time." The tired voice of Xiaoshu came from the center of the light pillar. "Hold on, I'll recover now." Muling Shengshan's face was not good either. He stood up and took a few steps forward until he could no longer get close, then he sat down cross-legged. However, after a few breaths, countless mud emerged from the ground, covering the Muling who had transformed into a human form. But at the same time, an incredible scene appeared on the ground. Mud was seen coming from far and near, constantly rushing towards Muling Shengshan. After a careful feeling, it was clearly the mud surging caused by spiritual power. And this spiritual power, it seems to be earth spiritual power, but it is more like wood spiritual power. The combination of the two spiritual powers completely submerged the Muling Shengshan covered by mud. Until Zuyun came here with a huge spiritual power turbulence. Where's the mountain? Zuyun didn't know that the mound under him was caused by the wood spirit holy mountain, and he searched around anxiously. It's not that he didn't release his spiritual consciousness, but once the spiritual consciousness was released, it would be immediately dispersed by the turbulent flow. Using only the naked eye to search, it is really unimaginable that the previously burly mountain would now be a small mound. For a moment, Zuyun was a little anxious. He confirmed with the wood spirit holy mountain that he could still hold on for some time, so he didn't rush over. But who would have thought that he couldn't see the mountain when he came here? Suffering from the fact that the wood spirit holy mountain couldn't speak at this time, the communication with the ancestral tree was also due to the mutual assistance between tens of thousands of years, and there was a communication ability beyond the spiritual consciousness. Since I can't find the mountain, then look for the ancestral tree. I think it's in these 12 light pillars. Zuyun concentrated his mind and rushed towards the light pillar without hesitation. But the closer to the light pillar, the harder it is to enter. But at this time, Zuyun did not want to solve the mystery of the light column, but wanted to find the wood spirit holy mountain. He wanted to use teleportation, but at this time, all the chaotic power in his body was used to resist the spiritual power turbulence. At the critical moment, Zuyun had a flash of inspiration in his mind. Thunder escape technique. Although the thunder spiritual power is not as good as the chaotic power, it is faster than the chaotic power. With a sizzling sound, an arc flashed, and Zuyun's figure disappeared. When he appeared again, he was only 100 steps away from the light column. Come again. Feeling that the overwhelming spiritual power turbulence was about to push him out, Zuyun gritted his teeth and used a thunder escape technique again. And this time, he flashed directly through the light column and appeared in the center of the 12 light columns. It was calm here. In the center, there was an extremely thick tree, but the green leaves were withered and the dead branches were all over the ground. Ancestor tree! Zuyun exclaimed. But before the ancestral tree could respond, a surprised voice rang out. Hey, there's someone here? A kid in the spiritualization stage, quite interesting. As soon as the voice fell, a figure appeared in front of Zuyun, reaching out to grab Zuyun's crown. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I started my cultivation by picking up the immortal skills. Author, Banzuan Xianxia. Chapter 973. Zuyun had not yet recovered his breath, and he had never imagined that there would be other people here. It's obviously his own universe world, who would have thought that? Moreover, his whole body was attracted by the state of the ancestral tree at this time, and he was anxious, but he was startled by the sudden big hand. In desperation, Zuyun did not hesitate and slapped it with one palm. Chaos palm. Although the other party just slapped the palm casually, the power contained in the rest, even if it is much weaker than the Zhangdao Venerable in the tribulation stage, or Chen Tianqiao, is not comparable to that in his divine transformation stage. The chaos palm can fight across borders, not to mention, the characteristic of the chaos palm is to draw out all the chaos power in the body. Zuyun's 26 lotus hearts, in an instant, the 24 original lotus hearts lost their light. He didn't understand why there were 2 left, maybe it had something to do with Qing Long Fist and Suanwu Fist. But in such a critical situation, he didn't have time to think about it. Boom! The huge power of chaos caught the owner of that hand off guard. He didn't even expect that someone who was in the stage of becoming a god would dare to face him and still take action. Zuyun couldn't dodge, and the same was true for him at this time. Immediately, this palm struck that man's hand with the power of destroying the heaven and the earth. The surging wind and clouds, this endless power, actually interrupted the light of the 12 totem poles. There was only a crackling sound, and when the light disappeared, the owner of this hand also flew out. Good boy, you can burst out with such power in one stage of divine transformation, but I underestimated you. It's no wonder that this world appears in the void. The voice was surprised, and its breath was slightly disordered. Zuyun quickly looked up and saw an old man with black hair and white beard, but a red face. "I dare to ask, Senior, why would you attack this kid?" Zuyun quickly landed next to the ancestral tree, looking extremely alert. There are only 2 lotus hearts left in his body. If nothing unexpected happens, these 2 lotus hearts should only be able to use Qinglong Fist and Chaos Fist, but cannot support him in using other spells. "Hey, little guy," the old man chuckled and said, "I'm here to be nice. It's obvious that you came to interrupt my restoration of my true body first. Besides, I'm in the Mahayana stage, how can I do anything to you in the transformation stage?" After hearing the other party's self-reported realm, Zuyun's expression became even more solemn. The Mahayana stage, or the tribulation stage, was something he couldn't face head-on. But what the old man said was true. Although he did it just now, it was quite casual and there was no murderous intention. It's not that I'm too nervous, but the appearance of outsiders in the universe. Does this mean that there are others who may appear here? Senior, don't blame me, Zhu Yunqiang calmed down and said. The boy mistakenly entered this place, thinking that a strange treasure was born, and finally entered the light pillar formation, but Senior suddenly appeared. Naturally, the boy reacted like this. Zuyun can leave the world of Dazhu at any time, but this is his last trump card to escape. But the problem is, if he escapes alone, what will happen to the ancestral tree, the mountain, and the 3 dogs who remain here? He heard from the old man that he didn't seem to know that this universe world was related to him, so he made up lies. But who would have thought that the old man shook his head and said, "Little guy, if you don't want me to bully you, just tell the truth. Don't even think of deceiving me. Just because I didn't kill you before, doesn't mean I can't kill you next. Even if you don't want me to bully you, just tell the truth. Your previous chaos palm was mysterious and powerless, and it had the power to hurt me. But this palm has already depleted the spiritual power in your body, right?" Zuyun's pupils shrank. He didn't know where he had exposed his flaw, or if this old man had some way to see through his mind. His mind was spinning rapidly, and he quickly found his oversight. It was the ancestral tree that was shouted out first after entering the light pillar. It is possible that this old man thinks that he and his ancestors know each other. What should we do? Zuyun felt like lightning and soon had something to say. Senior, you have misunderstood me. He quickly organized his words and said, the boy wanted to find the wood spirit bead, and it was rumored that there was a wood spirit bead in the place where the ancestral tree was. So he searched everywhere for the ancestral tree, but in the process of searching, he came here inexplicably. World, when I saw thunder and lightning everywhere in this place, I thought that a strange treasure was born. Then I had a misunderstanding with my senior. Outside world. The old man narrowed his eyes and asked, what is the outside world? Upon hearing this, Zuyun said without hesitation, Dongfan realm. He was thoughtful and figured out that no matter where the old man came from in the void, since he asked this question, he must be a person from the spirit world. Moreover, the ancestral tree was indeed encountered by him in the East mortal realm. Even if the old man asks again, he can easily answer it. Boy, how do you get from the spirit world to the East mortal world when you are in the stage of becoming a god? Who would have thought that the old man's first question was about Zuyun? This. Zuyun hesitated for a moment. He didn't know how to get to the East mortal realm at all. If what he said didn't correspond to what the old man knew, then he would be in trouble. Is it possible that he really wants to run? Sure enough, seeing Zuyun's hesitation, the old man's face gradually turned cold. In desperation, Zuyun made nonsense and said quickly, Senior, I came from the wild sea. Regardless of whether he succeeds or not, he can only fight. If he didn't say anything, the old man would take action, and then he would never know how the old man came to the world of the universe. But having said that, there is still a little chance. Wild Sea. The old man was stunned for a moment, which made Zuyun feel worried. He always kept his soul in mind. Whenever the old man showed any sign of taking action, he would leave this place without hesitation before making any plans. But then, the old man nodded again, as if talking to himself, and said, "The spiritual world is a continent, and the four mortal realms of southeast, northwest, and southeast are indeed facing each other across the sea. However, there are invisible obstacles and the way of heaven is lost. It's extremely difficult to go, but it's not impossible. Boy, tell me, how did you get from the spiritual world to the east mortal realm?" The old man obviously believed in Zuyun, and even became interested in Zuyun's method, which actually made Zuyun stunned. Are the wild sea areas really connected? Fortunately, seeing the old man's pensive look, Zuyun also knew that the other party did not know how to pass through the wild sea, so he simply said, "Senior, the sea is vast and boundless, with obstacles and lost paths, but the eastern mortal realm is in the spiritual world. To the east of the border, we can just go east from the sea. Let's not talk about the obstruction for now. How do you break through the confusion?" The old man frowned and said, "When I went to the east mortal realm, I was also trapped in the lost way. Later, I had no choice but to go back along the entrance from the east mortal realm to the spirit world." "You haven't been? That'll be easy." Zuyun felt happy, he just made it up by himself. "It turns out that Senior has also been to the east mortal realm," he said with a smile. "I wonder if Senior has ever heard of the compass among mortals." "You're talking about using magnets." The old man was born in the spiritual world and did not understand these things. "But if I wish Yun a little, he will get through." "That's right. Actually, there is one thing that I haven't said yet. That is that I am immortal from the eastern mortal realm, and I only embarked on the path of immortality after receiving the fate of immortality. In the past, my home was close to the sea, so I was not aware of things in the sea. Strange. Later, by chance, I reached the stage of spiritual transformation, but I wanted a wood spirit bead, so I remembered the legend of the ancestral tree in the east mortal realm, so I returned to the eastern mortal realm. Before finding the ancestral tree, he was sucked into this world, which was something I never expected." Zuyun's words were consistent with what he had said before. Most of the doubts in the old man's heart were gone. He nodded, and then said, "Since the outside is still the east mortal realm, it will be easy to handle." "Boy, is there a way to get out? I just want to go to the east mortal realm to do something. If it works out, you and I can go to the spiritual world together. I can protect you in the outer world in the future." The old man's words made Zuyun's heart suddenly tighten. There are so many forces in Tianwei, and there are probably not many who dare to say this. If he was in the period of transcending tribulation, Zuyun would just forget about it. But he is clearly still in the Mahayana stage. Zuyun was doubtful in his heart, but he pretended to be ecstatic and said, "Senior, don't worry, I'm familiar with the east mortal realm." "What are you going to do and where are you going?" The old man laughed and said, "Boy, have you ever heard of the demon refining tower? I started my cultivation by picking up the immortal skills." Author, Banzuan Xianxia. Chapter 974. Refining, Demon Refining Tower. Zuyun was completely stunned. If the old man hadn't mentioned these three words, he would have almost forgotten about this matter. At the same time, he also guessed who this old man was. He is the master of a bird. He is also a powerful senior who refines the demon refining tower. "Hey, boy, it seems you have also heard of the demon refining tower." When the old man saw Zuyun's reaction, he smiled unconsciously. However, he didn't know why Zuyun was surprised and said, "Let me think about it. I seem to have placed a place called Chu in the demon refining tower. What kind of place does that belong to?" It's been a while, and I can't remember it at the moment. Yao realm. Zuyun took a deep breath and said. That's right, it's Yajing. A look of surprise appeared on the old man's face, and he said, I have worked hard for my mount, because I am afraid that it will be corrupted by evil thoughts. For this reason, I have been in the sky for tens of thousands of years and consulted countless classics before I came up with a solution. Now that the 12 totem poles have gathered together, my spirit has been completed. By then, Tianwei will be my Tianwei. After saying that, the old man laughed wildly. Senior, you actually refined the demon refining tower. Zuyun was extremely shocked, but he didn't dare to show it at all on his face. Instead, he asked extremely curiously to find out the truth about the old man. At the same time, he also knew that the old man came from the totem pole. If the dragon demon emperor also has a fragment of the immortal mansion, and he also puts the dragon head pillar into it, then the appearance of the old man would make sense. That's natural. This demon refining tower is a refining method that I found out from an immortal book. Unfortunately, we are in the lower realm and are naturally insufficient to refine such immortal objects. Therefore, I have used countless in the year. I used my mount's evil thoughts as the spirit of the tower to imprison his good thoughts, but this was not enough, so I took advantage of the destiny again. Senior, can destiny be used as well? Zuyun asked in a deep voice. Of course, the immortal book says that every lower realm has its destiny. The destiny can be said to be the ultimate principle of heaven, but it is slightly different from the way of heaven. How to put it, it's like, the way of heaven is the way of heaven in this world, but it can be said that the way of heaven is the way of heaven in this world. Destiny can break away from this way of heaven and become the way of heaven again. Zuyun was confused when he heard it, and he vaguely felt that he understood something, but he was not sure. Senior, I have little knowledge and don't understand the truth. Let's put it this way, the old man seemed to be in a very good mood and said, there is a reason for the existence of all things, and this reason is actually the way of heaven. What is the way of heaven? The way of heaven is the rules. Why, we people in the spiritual world, no matter what our realm, we have reached in the mortal realm, all realms of strength will be suppressed within the limits of heaven's Deo. This is the rule. And heaven's destiny means that you can escape from this heaven's Deo and form a new heaven's Deo. A new way of heaven. Zuyun felt as if he had caught something. Yes, the old man said, there will always be the strongest person in a world. If the strongest person surpasses the way of heaven, then the way of heaven here will naturally not tolerate him, lest he destroy the way of heaven, so there will be a final ascension to heaven. Tribulation. This calamity is the test of heaven. If you can't bear it, you won't be able to break the shackles of heaven. But if you do, does that mean you are stronger than heaven and may destroy heaven at any time? Do you think heaven will allow you to stay? Therefore, heaven will open a passage for you to ascend. This is the so-called enlightenment and immortality. Because after leaving heaven, you will reach the immortal world. Zuyun nodded and heard the old man say, since the ascended strong man is stronger than the way of heaven, can he make his own rules? Of course you can, Zuyun said, since ancient times, rules have been made by the strong. That's it, the old man said with a smile, but if you are stronger than the way of heaven, can you be stronger than the way of immortality? Zuyun was stunned. The immortal way is the way of the immortal realm. Since you are in the immortal realm, you must follow the rules of the immortal realm. Boy, you should know that monks generally have their own external space, storage bag, sumer ring, and beast control space. Or is this a self-contained world? So, can a monk make rules in his own space? It stands to reason that it should be possible. Zuyun gradually became excited, and he felt that he was getting closer and closer to his destiny. It is indeed possible, but the premise is that it must be under the rules of immortality. The old man suddenly shouted loudly, with a smile on his face, and said, "This requires destiny. I said that destiny is the basis for formulating rules. If you want to formulate the way of heaven in your own world, then you need mate on the basis of destiny. This is the destiny of the 12 major demon clans in the East Mortal realm." Zuyun was shocked, although he had no evidence to prove whether what the old man said was true. But he believed it. Everything makes sense. The 12 major monster clans, when gathered together, will have a mysterious power. The old man used this power to achieve his goal. Although he is not trying to formulate the way of heaven, it is very likely that this is his first step to test the power of destiny. For example, the statues of the 12 tribes were used, but the demon king of the 12 tribes was not used. He may be afraid that they are all 12 tribes, and the power they bring will be beyond his control. After all, he is only in the Mahayana stage. And more importantly, he actually divided his soul into the totem poles of the 12 tribes. This. And for what purpose? Is it to explore the true purpose of destiny? But Zuyun didn't dare to ask these questions. Sometimes knowing too much is not a good thing. Senior is indeed very capable. This kid is really eye-opening. Zuyun quickly said with admiration. "Ha ha ha, kid, I just tell you this because I like you. However, a world heart has only one destiny, so it doesn't matter what I tell you at this point," the old man said deliberately. "You kid, you won't compete with me for your destiny, right? Don't dare, don't dare." Zuyun quickly shook his head and said, "Senior has great strength, but this kid is only in the stage of becoming a god." "You are self-aware," the old man laughed and said, "However, I said, if I like you, if you get things done, I will refine a world and let you join it. Practice with peace of mind and take good care of me. Your blessings will be indispensable in the future. Then I'd like to thank my senior first." Zuyun quickly bowed, but in fact, there was already a storm in his heart. It's him who has already guessed the function of destiny, which is to formulate the way of heaven for a place of heaven and earth. "Okay," the old man said with a smile, "but destiny alone is not enough, we also need a world. The bigger and more perfect this world is, the stronger the way of heaven will be when it is formulated. I don't know enough about the fairy world. So this matter is not urgent, it will take a long time to prepare. However, I still want to take over Tianwei first. When the time comes, I will include the entire Tianwei into it." Zuyun stopped responding, but the old man might have really practiced among the 12 totem poles for a long time, which made him a little overly excited. After a long time, he looked at Zuyun and said, "Boy, the outside world is the Dongfan realm, right? Keep this ancestral tree for now, I still have use for it. You and I will search around, and if you find anything, you will inform me." After saying that, he stretched out his hand and a circle of light suddenly appeared, directly trapping the ancestral tree in it. At the same time, he took out a talisman with his other hand and threw it to Zuyun. "Boy, if something happens, just crush this talisman and I will appear immediately. Do you remember?" "Senior, I remember." Zuyun quickly bowed and took the talisman with both hands. "Okay, then I go that way, and you go to the other side." As soon as the words fell, the old man's figure had disappeared. Zuyunjing stood there and finally had a chance to think. But before that, he wanted to ask how the ancestral tree was doing, but before he could speak, the voice of the holy mountain of wood spirit came from the mound. "Master, no, leave quickly." Zuyun was so happy that he almost forgot about Muling Holy Mountain and couldn't help but asked in confusion, "Holy Mountain? Master, find a way to send him out of the universe." After saying that, Muling Holy Mountain stopped talking. When Zuyun was confused, spiritual power suddenly flowed in front of him, and the old man appeared in front of Zuyun again. His face was extremely ugly. "I started my cultivation by picking up the immortal skills. Author, Banzhuan Xianxia. Chapter 975. Boy, the old man said with murderous intent in his eyes, why don't you move? Zuyun was quick-witted and said, Senior, I used up all my spiritual power in the palm strike that offended you before, so I want to recover some before going over there to have a look. Hearing this, the old man's expression relaxed a little, and then said, do your job well for me, and your future fortune will be much better than your practice of the 5 Elements Chaos Sutra. Otherwise, don't blame me for being rude. Zuyun was surprised again, and the old man had disappeared. But he didn't feel confused for long. The 5 Elements Chaos Sutra might be a heavenly book in the mortal world, but it is not a rare thing in the spiritual world. The name of the 5 Elements sect, the old man should know it. No wonder Xianxia remained silent, thinking that he knew that the old man could know his movements at any time. Zuyun sat on the ground and began to refine his qi. But there is no void chaos power in the universe, so his recovery speed is not only slow, but also the chaos power formed by the combination of 5 kinds of spiritual power is far less pure than before. After entering the lotus, it needs to be refined for the second time. However, this does not have much impact on Zuyun's use of teleportation or thunder escape. After recovering a little, Zuyun took out the talisman from his arms. The runes on it were a bit complicated and beyond his learning range. I have never learned this kind of talisman, but since it can appear at my side instantly, it must be related to space. Zuyun was putting away the talisman, but a light flashed in his mind. Space. The pattern of the teleportation array. He looked carefully and found that the runes on it were similar to the teleportation array he had seen in his memory. Suddenly, his breathing became a little hurried. Even if he didn't use this talisman, it would most likely be taken back by the old man. In this case, can I just copy and write down all the runes? He didn't remember the array pattern of the teleportation array, but the array has always existed in the East Fan realm. It seems that there will be something to do in the East Fan realm in the future. If this kind of talisman is learned, it will be much more convenient in the future. Zuyun was afraid that the old man might appear again at any time, so he didn't dare to stay here to study the rune, but he was thinking about how to avoid the old man. Leave the great universe world and go to the immortal mansion, or go to the North Fan realm. His only worry is whether the old man's talisman can break through the space and come with him. If it is really feasible, then the secret of his own immortal mansion will be exposed, or the lie that the outside world is the East Fan realm will be exposed. Either way, it will bring disaster to life. But after thinking about it, Zuyun felt that the North Fan realm was relatively safer. Because of the way of heaven. Even if the old man comprehended the destiny, he has not yet surpassed the strength of the way of heaven. Therefore, in the Northern Fan realm, he is only in the nascent soul stage. So, do I have the strength to fight? No. Zuyun did not have much chaos power at this time. Except for 2 shining lotus hearts. They are the Azure Dragon Fist and the Black Tortoise Fist. Can 2 punches defeat the old man? Zuyun was unsure. Another thing is that Zuyun was afraid that if the old man could not follow him out after he left, would he be angry with the creatures in the great universe world? Sango and the others, as well as the ancestral tree and the wood spirit holy mountain. For a moment, Zuyun was in a state of confusion. Or, go back to the spirit realm directly and let Yayuan deal with him. Yayuan is also a strong man in the tribulation stage, so it is no problem to deal with the Mahayana stage. But the question is, when will the spirit realm channel of the Northern Fan realm be opened? After all, the core of the problem is whether the old man can pass through the space and appear beside him. By the way, why should I solve him all at once? Suddenly, Zuyun found himself in a dead end. If the old man could follow him to the northern mortal realm, and he would throw the talisman in the northern mortal realm, and then return to the immortal mansion, wouldn't the old man be unable to follow him anymore? No matter how fast the old man reacts, it's impossible for him to follow him as soon as he appears, right? As long as there is this little time, he can throw the talisman into the poison dragon pond, and then escape with Xiaohe. Zuyun thought about the feasibility of this plan. After dealing with all the possible things, Zuyun decided to move. It would be best if the old man couldn't follow. If he could follow, it would be relatively dangerous. But it's not a dead end. Because if he follows, he is only in the nascent soul stage. Great, let's do it. Zuyun's mind was focused, and he flew to the south. There was a place where he practiced and tested various skills. The ground was full of gullies and deep pits. Zuyun found a pit and went in without hesitation. Then, with a thought, he appeared in the Immortal Palace. Without waiting to say hello to those immortal medicines, he immediately left the Immortal Palace. Beside the poison dragon pond, Xiaohe had already refined most of the poison, and his whole body was glowing with a faint green light. Xiaohe, go first. Zuyun came without hesitation, shouted to Xiaohe, and took Xiaohe into the Immortal Palace, and then took out the talisman and threw it into the well. Alone, he used the thunder escape technique frantically until he escaped from the Dragon Palace, got out of the four-square formation, and entered the yin-yang formation. You can't go out immediately, go to the sea, the deeper the better. I don't know if this Mahayana stage has the same ability as the Tribulation stage, which can leave marks on myself. Just in case, Zuyun used the water escape technique and escaped crazily along the depths of the wild sea. Go. Hey, I can't feel the breath of that kid anymore. Did he find an exit when he went to the far south and then ran away? The old man frowned and did not go immediately. After thinking for a moment, he appeared at the ancestral tree. This world has the world tree and some creatures, so I can prepare a lot less. It looks like Yaezhuzilang's secret realm, but it is different. If I had known, I would have asked that kid where he entered from. The old man talking to himself like this really shocked the ancestral tree and the wood spirit sacred mountain. World tree is the name of his race, but from the tone of the old man's mouth and the second half of his sentence, it is obvious that he knows that the ancestral tree has merged with this world and has become the world tree of this world. Therefore, he does not want to leave this place to find the demon refining tower, but is preparing to refine this world into his own world. Find the exit first. You can get out with the talisman, but if you don't go out through the exit, it will be difficult to come back. The old man shook his head, took out another talisman, looked around, and came to the mound of soil formed by the holy mountain of wood spirit. He stuffed the talisman underneath and then disappeared in a flash. Not long after, he appeared at the pothole where Zuyun was, frowning. You can't feel any space force. How did this kid get out? Is it a coincidence that this is the exit, and after he was sucked out, the exit disappeared? The old man thought about it and said to himself, well, the world is huge here, and it is not easy to search. I also left the talisman behind, but I can come back again. Let's follow the talisman on that kid first. After saying that, the old man flashed and disappeared on the spot. At the same time, the mound shook, and Muling Holy Mountain let out a sigh of relief and asked with concern, Old tree, how do you feel? Can't die. Zusha coughed twice and then responded weakly. What to do? Muling Holy Mountain was silent for a moment and asked again. I don't know. Ancestral tree shook his body, but no leaves could fall. This person recognized that I am connected with this world and absorbed the origin of this world. But fortunately, he didn't seem to notice you. Xianxia smiled bitterly and said, I am integrated with this land, of course he can't sense it. But, apart from me, he seems to know this world very well. Zusha said, the fact that he knows the secret realm of Zilang means that he has been preparing in the East Mortal realm for a long time. In other words, he has wanted to refine his own world for a long time. You still have to find a way to tell the master, otherwise this world. The trees and mountains were all silent. Finally, they lowered their heads and looked at the talisman. According to the old man, he can come back again with this talisman. Boy, how dare you throw my talisman into the poisonous water? In the poison dragon pond, the old man was furious and his eyes were filled with murderous intent. If he were in the spirit world, this kind of poison would not be able to harm him at all. But this is in the Biffin realm. His realm was limited to the nascent soul stage, and this was the poison left over from generations of poison dragon ancestors, causing him to suffer greatly. However, the impact on his soul was limited, and he immediately felt that Zuyun was running wildly towards the south in the sea. Humph, I'll let you run for a while longer. After I recover from your injuries, I'll catch you again and search your soul to see what's in your head. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I started my cultivation by picking up the immortal skills. Author, Banzuan Xianxia. Chapter 976. I wonder if I continue to escape like this, I will encounter obstacles to other realms. In the shallow sea, Zuyun headed south at an extremely fast speed. The reason why he did not use teleportation in the air or the thunder escape technique is that these two methods consume more spiritual power, and the demon cultivators in the demon sea realm are not at odds with other cultivators, and Zuyun is also afraid of offending them. Come to trouble. An old man is enough for him to handle, not to mention that he doesn't have much spiritual power. Fortunately, with the water escape technique, the loss of the chaos power in his body can be said to be minimal. I passed many islands along the way, but I never encountered any demonic cultivators. As time passed, it became somewhat strange. I heard from Luruyan that when the passage to the spirit world is opened, these demonic cultivators will come to cause trouble. Could it be that those demonic cultivators have already gathered together and are ready to attack? Zuyun only knew that the channel to the spirit world would be opened in half a year at the earliest, and did not know the rest of the news, so he had such a conjecture. However, when he pretended to cater to the old man, he made up a lie about crossing the sea from the spiritual world to the mortal world. The old man had no doubts, which was enough to show that this was feasible. Zuyun actually thought that if he really passed through the barrier, he might be able to return to the spirit world. However, when the time comes, do you want to return to Biffin realm and bring Luruyan back to Yayuan? Just as he was thinking this, Zuyun suddenly discovered that there was a huge island right in front of him. He didn't know what he was thinking, so he came out of the sea slightly and looked over there. It doesn't matter if you don't look away, but this time you look, you will find that the island is filled with demonic energy, which is completely different from all the islands that you have encountered before. Moreover, the island is very large. Zuyun was 1 mile away, but he couldn't see the whole island clearly. He rolled his eyes and thought, the old man's aura is no different from that of a righteous monk. If he pursues him, he might attract the attention of the demon cultivator on the island, and I can borrow a knife to kill people. Thinking of this, Zuyun immediately decided to go to the island. Based on his understanding of the clan ways of the East Mortal realm, the demon cultivators on this island are probably not weaker than the Yalogo demon sect. You know, there are dozens of nascent soul stages in Yalogo demon sect. Without knowing whether the old man had come out of the universe, Zuyun did not dare to go back rashly. He believes that after he has been away from the world of the universe for so long, the old man will definitely find that whether he chases him or not depends on whether the old man has the ability to come out. Therefore, Zuyun must be fully prepared. Swimming quietly to the rocks on one side, Zuyun found a cave in the reef, went straight in, and then stretched out his fingers to draw the magic talisman. Breath-holding talisman. When the runes were gone, Zuyun's aura was hidden, and he was no different from a mortal. Only then did he emerge from the cave in the reef and climb to the shore. The breath-containing talisman can wipe away all the spiritual energy and aura from his body, but as long as a trace of it is used, the effect of the talisman will disappear. In the spiritual world, the breath-gathering talisman can only deceive the divine transformation stage at best, but in this northern mortal world, as long as he doesn't want to, no monk can see it. Let's go to this island and have a look. Zuyun is sometimes cautious, but at this time he has to say that a skilled person is bold. He doesn't have much spiritual power, and the only moves he can use are Qinglong Fist and Suanwu Fist. However, he also knew very well that as a mortal, no one from the nascent soul stage would deliberately target him. However, if an ordinary monk dared to bully him, any punch would be enough. At worst, he would just run away when the time comes. Yes. But if he can sneak into the island, he may be the only one who suffers when the old man pursues him. After getting on the reef, Zuyun did not go directly into the island, but continued walking south along the coast. When he was about to touch a stick of incense, Zuyun discovered that it was an open land. What surprised him even more was that there was a pier there. On the pier, people were coming and going, and there were actually many ships. That's right, the demonic monks are all in the sea, and those with low strength can only rely on boats if they want to walk. Zuyun understood, and saw some mortals carrying sacks or goods from a distance, so he thought he would go and have a look and find out what the island was like. The demonic aura is so compelling. If I guess wrong and it's just an ordinary island, then the gain outweighs the loss. Zuyun walked slowly, and the closer he got to the dock, the more he felt that it was a little too nervous. Of course it wasn't directed at him. Instead, some monks in the chi refining stage kept urging the mortal porters. The tone was urgent, and if any mortal stumbled a little, the monk would curse and blurt out all kinds of obscene words. Zuyun looked carefully and saw that these sacks seemed to contain resources used for various cultivations. The fluctuations in spiritual power were not obvious, and they were obviously not of high grade. These mortals dare not get angry, let alone speak. Even though their clothes were soaked with sweat, they did not dare to stop and rest for a while. As long as the footsteps stopped for a moment, a monk would walk over and slap the whip fiercely. But mortals are mortals after all. Zuyun only looked at half a cup of tea before a mortal finally couldn't hold on and fell to the ground. The sack rolled down and a hole was poked out by a small wooden stake on the pier's plank road. Piles of dried elixir rolled into rolls and rolled into the sea water. Zuyun realized that it was a low-grade elixir, and the spiritual power in it was even worse than the red sweet potato fruit he had taken. If you can't move anything, just go to hell. The chi refining period next to him was furious. He ran over and kicked the mortal into the sea. At the same time, he picked up the sack with one hand. Regardless of the mortal struggling and rising and falling in the sea, he turned the sack over with a fierce expression on his face. In just such a short time, half the sack of herbs fell into the sea, and the monk's face became even darker. Leave him alone. The island owner is in a hurry. If he goes to recruit mortals, aren't there many people waiting to be transported over there? At this time, another demon cultivator came to refine the 12th level of Qi. It seemed that he was the steward here. The Qi refining stage nodded in agreement. Just as he was about to walk to the other side, he turned around and saw Zuyun not far away. Zuyun was closer than the people over there, so the demon cultivator rushed over and said to Zuyun, "After moving this ship, give me a tael of gold." Zuyun was stunned. It was not that he disliked the hard work of such mortals, but that the highest one on this pier was only a foundation building stage in the distance. If the old man came after him, I'm afraid these people wouldn't be able to stop him for a moment. What, you don't want to? Seeing that Zuyun was a little dazed, the demon cultivator couldn't help but snorted coldly and said, "If it weren't for the fact that people are not allowed to kill mortals on the island, how can you still stand here? Well, Do it or not, just one sentence. Zuyun suddenly laughed. Do it. But I don't want gold. If you don't want gold, do you want silver? Ha, I didn't expect that. I met a fool. Gold is more valuable than silver, but on this island, some mortals who are too young may not know the value of gold. Seeing Zuyun's young appearance, the demon cultivator thought he was a young man who had never seen the world. Zuyun didn't care, but laughed and said, I saw someone fell into the sea. If the immortal master fishes him out, I don't want a penny. This time, it was the demon cultivator's turn to be stunned. But then, he showed a playful smile. It's not a bad deal to save someone with one tael of gold. Okay, you go move it now, and I'll fish that person out. The demon cultivator was also angry just now, so he kicked the man into the sea. There is a clear order on the island not to kill mortals without authorization, otherwise the kick he just kicked would have killed that mortal. How could he be allowed to save others? It wasn't that Zuyun couldn't tell, but he was a little interested in the rules on the island. The island owner explicitly ordered not to kill anyone? This demonic sea realm is quite interesting. Seeing that the demon cultivator agreed, Zuyun quickly walked into the team approaching the boat. These elixirs look dry, but in fact they are not light in weight. A sack weighs at least 100 kilograms. When it was Zuyun's turn, there was a strong man on the boat. He picked up a bag and threw it towards Zuyun's shoulder. Zuyun met it with one hand, relieved his strength slightly, and then steadily carried the sack on his shoulders. You're new here, why don't you leave? The strong man wiped the sweat on his forehead and said strangely. It's a little light and I think I can carry 2 more bags. Zuyun turned around slightly, smiled at the strong man and said. Boy, look at how skinny you are, and your brain is not working well. Hurry up, don't get in the way here. The strong man also thought he had met a fool, and waved Zuyun away impatiently. And over there, the demon cultivator also picked up the mortals who fell into the sea. When he saw something happened here, when he saw it was Zuyun, he ran over with anger on his face. I started my cultivation by picking up the immortal skills. Author, Banzuan Xianxia. Chapter 977. I have already rescued you, but why are you causing trouble here if you don't move your things properly? Believe it or not, I will also throw you into the sea. The island owner has a rule that you cannot kill mortals at will, but you ruined the island owner's good deeds. Seeing the angry demon cultivator, Zuyun chuckled and said, Master Immortal, you must not make a mistake. I also want to finish moving the things quickly and let the brother above put 2 more bags. Hearing this, the demon cultivator was stunned and glanced at the strong man subconsciously. The strong man said quickly, Master Immortal, this kid is too thin. I'm afraid he won't be able to carry it, so. If he wants to let go, just let him go. If he can't carry it, he will be punished himself. During the chi refining period, he acted fairly and cursed. The strong man had no choice but to pick up the sack again and stack it on top of the sack on Zuyun's shoulder. Zuyun looks like a mortal with no spiritual power, but in fact, when he reaches the state of becoming a god, his physical strength is naturally needless to say. Another bag was added, but he stood still. Come again. He said with a smile. The chi-refining demon cultivator couldn't help but take another look at Zuyun, but no matter how he looked, he couldn't see anything special about Zuyun. His small body could actually bear a weight of more than 200 kilograms, and he still obviously had some remaining strength. He attributed it to his natural power, so he urged the strong man, didn't you hear? Hurry up. The strong man had no choice but to curse Zuyun in his heart, but he did not dare to show any expression on his face, so he had no choice but to pick up another sack and fold it up again. In fact, Zuyun could carry 10 more bags. But his purpose is just to attract the attention of these chi refining stages, so that he can inquire about some news about this island from them later. Not to mention 10 bags, even 2 more bags would be too shocking. In this way, carrying 3 bags, he walked to a cart, pretended to have a little trouble, and stacked them on the cart. With the addition of Zuyun, the ship's unloading speed has also become a little faster. Not only did he move a lot, but the key was that Zuyun moved quickly. In about half an hour, the entire ship's cargo had been unloaded. Zuyun deliberately stayed on the plank road, pretending to stretch his muscles. Before the monk came, he saw the mortal who had been kicked into the sea staggering up to Zuyun. "Thank you, little brother, for saving your life." After saying that, he knelt down to Zuyun. Zuyun quickly supported him. This mortal looked to be in his 40s, with dark complexion, obviously exposed to the sun and wind. "It's okay, how do you feel? Just take good care of yourself. Little brother, in fact, the immortal master will not kill me. The island owner has an order. It's just a pity that you wasted a tael of gold." The mortal did not leave after being rescued. After the fortifications here were completed, someone familiar came over and told him that Zuyun asked the immortal master to save him without asking for wages. Zuyun smiled and said, "Every time you go out, you will encounter difficulties. I have worked hard for a long time, and I am afraid it is inappropriate to fall into the sea rashly. Even if the immortal master does not want to kill you, if the cold air from the sea enters your body, you will not be able to survive. Lie down for days." Before the mortal could respond, the chi refining stage man snorted coldly and suddenly appeared behind the two of them. "Boy, is this immortal master like that? It looks like I am hurting him, but in fact I am saving him." Zuyun was surprised and looked back at the sanctimonious demon cultivator, but he was actually a little confused. "That's what the immortal master said." The mortal quickly saluted the demon cultivator and said, "Thank you so much, the immortal master, for saving your life." Zuyun was puzzled. If this demonic cultivator saved this mortal, what would it mean to him? Ruin someone else's good deeds? "Little brother, is this your first time coming to the dock to move goods?" "Brother, I caused the island owner to lose half a bag of elixirs. If he is punished, brother, I can't bear it. But after the immortal master punished him, the island owner, naturally I won't punish you again. So I said, it was the immortal master who saved my life. But you are right, the sea is very cold, and things have become colder for some reason. If the immortal master is later, come down, bro, my body is freezing." "Humph," the demon cultivator snorted coldly and said, "Wu Dao, thank you. Hurry up and go home and let your mother-in-law cook a bowl of heat wave to drink. The coldness in the sea has become stronger. It is not something that you, a mere mortal, can know. Hurry up. Roll." Zuyun knew it now. Since this demon cultivator knew the mortal's name, he obviously knew him. Although his words were rude, he was still concerned. 2. How could a monk be polite to ordinary mortals? Wu Dao left quickly. After walking a little further, the demon cultivator took out a small piece of gold from his arms and threw it to Zuyun. "It should be yours, just take it. There is still a boat at the same time the goods are about to arrive, but the ship is not in a hurry. If you can carry 1,000 bags by yourself before dawn, I can give you 100 taels of gold. What do you think?" Zuyun looked at the gold in his hand and was a little surprised. What surprised him even more was that the demon cultivator obviously had a very good impression of him and was willing to let him do the work worth 100 taels of gold alone. If he were really immortal, he would definitely be tempted. I don't know how much things cost in the demon sea realm, but gold. It's pretty much the same when you think about it. I'm sorry, Master Immortal. You stayed up in the middle of the night. What kind of goods did you come here to carry? Those people need gold more than me. Zuyun smiled and pointed to an open space in the distance, where there were many people, obviously all mortals who came to the dock to find work. The demon cultivator was even more surprised than him. Even though he had no money, he actually said he was going to sleep. Interesting. Boy, I see that you are born with supernatural power, so I want to give you a chance. If you can unload a boat by yourself, you may be favored by the island owner. Zuyun laughed and said, "Thank you for the kindness of the immortal master. I am used to being lazy. As the saying goes, one person eats, the whole family is not hungry. If you give me 100 taels of gold, I don't know how to use it. As for this gold, I said I don't want it, and I don't want it. But if I give it back to the immortal master, the immortal master will not want it. How about taking this gold and treating the immortal master to a meal? You also need to eat during the chi refining period. If you don't eat, you need a bigo pill." Zuyun is careful. Since the island owner needs so many ordinary spiritual medicines, it seems that this island is also very poor, and refining bigo pills may be a luxury. Interesting, interesting. The demon cultivator looked at Zuyun, looking him up and down. He is obviously immortal, but his state of mind is completely incomparable to those mortals. They just want to marry and have children, raise their children well, and then come to the dock to make money to marry and have children. One person eats, the whole family is not hungry. Ha ha ha. Boy, it just so happens that I have nothing to do for the time being, so I will spend your gold. The demon cultivator laughed loudly, turned around and left, motioning Zuyun to follow. However, he was afraid that Zuyun could not keep up with his speed, so he did not use spiritual power. He walked for half an hour and walked 10 miles before entering a small town. The town only has a few streets, but there are many people. There are mortals, cultivators, and obviously more people in the foundation building stage. Boy, are you from outside this Moxie island? Before entering the town, the demon cultivator suddenly stopped and asked. Why did the immortal master say that? Although Zuyun asked curiously, he did not take it seriously. Although you are immortal, you are very eloquent, far from being immortal on this island. If I guess correctly, you are from Fanyang realm. Zuyun was stunned, and then laughed. Yes, I was originally immortal in Liukan, and I have longed for the vast sea area with its unique customs and habits. So I came here alone. I thought that the people in the wild sea area were all wild, but I never thought that the sea area is not wild, and the people are not wild. Interesting, interesting. The demon cultivator was also free and easy, laughing. Liukan is the largest city in Fanyang realm, I have only heard of it, but I have never been there. No wonder, you are different. Come on, this immortal master likes you, then let's drink, this gold is not enough, I still have it on me. Zuyun also followed with a smile on his face, and the demon cultivator kept saying that he was interesting. On the contrary, he thought this demon cultivator was interesting. And he had no prejudice against demon cultivators, so he followed him into a restaurant. Master, how come you come to our place? The restaurant has a waiter, but the arrival of the demon cultivator made the shopkeeper personally greet him. It is obvious that he recognized the demon cultivator. Haha, I don't have spiritual stones to drink those spiritual wines, so I use gold to drink your ordinary wine. I just met an interesting friend and came to relieve my addiction. The demon cultivator laughed heartily, and the shopkeeper did not dare to neglect him. He led Zuyun and the others to the top floor directly. The top floor is only 3 floors, but you can see most of the scenery of the town by leaning against the window. Boy, since you can sit down and drink, don't call me master. My surname is Mo, and my given name is Dong. I am older than you. If you know what's good for you, call me brother Mo. If you don't know what's good for you, you can call me Uncle Mo or Master Mo. After Mo Dong finished speaking, he stared at Zuyun and said. Zuyun smiled and said, Brother Mo, just call me Zuyun. Having reached this state, and in this strange place, Zuyun did not plan to use an alias anymore. I started my cultivation by picking up the immortal skills. Author, Banzuan Xianxia. Chapter 978. Although Mo Dong was approachable, the shopkeeper still personally led the two of them to the dining room on the third floor, and he also personally delivered the food and drinks that were served at the same time. Mo Dong poured himself a glass of wine and said calmly, Zuyun, I heard that there are spiritual stones all over Liukan, have you seen them? There are also mortals in Liukan, but most of them are on the periphery. Zuyun smiled and said, Brother Mo, you think too highly of me. I am also immortal. I cannot enter the area where those immortal masters are. That's true, Mo Dong said with a flash of envy in his eyes, everyone has his own destiny. If I were born in the mortal Yang realm, I'm afraid my fate would be different. Zuyun Kai asked, what do you mean by Brother Mo's words? You are immortal, and you may not know much about the world of immortality, just like why the sea water has become cold recently. In the demon sea realm, the various resources are far less than those on the mainland. Although the sea is wide, there are many sea monsters in the sea. Our clan is entrenched, and you mortals will envy us for our strength, but even if we enter the sea, we are not enough for some ordinary sea monsters to eat in one bite. If we were in the Fanyang realm, even if I, Mo Dong, have ordinary talent, I would not still be practicing now. Chi period. Zuyun was dumbfounded, this was actually the truth. For monks who have just embarked on the path to immortality, the amount of resources will really affect the progress of a person's cultivation. He held his breath and didn't want to be exposed, so naturally he couldn't use his spiritual sense to examine Mo Dong to judge his talent. However, through some subtle observations, he felt that Mo Dong's talent should be similar to Urgu. Although Urgu had a bad fate, he had finally reached the stage of forming an elixir. If we want to practice, we need resources. If we want resources, we need to work and accept some tasks on the island. But if we accept them, we don't have time to practice. With this cycle, the improvement of this realm will naturally be slow. Unless the talent is extraordinary being, otherwise who can not ask about common things? Mo Dong said the last paragraph while drinking a glass of wine. This gesture also reminded Zuyun of Zhang Tianyuan. But in comparison, Zhang Tianyuan's mind was more open-minded. Zuyun couldn't help but feel emotional and said, Brother Mo, cultivation is against nature. If you follow the rules like this, I'm afraid it will be the same in this life. Do you mean to let me go out to sea? Mo Dong naturally understood what Zuyun meant and said with a smile, it's not that I haven't thought about it, but how can I get out of the sea at this low level? Furthermore, the Fanyang realm regards our demon cultivators as tigers. Even if we can reach Fanyang, we have to be careful in this environment, so how can we find resources to practice? Zuyun was stunned and ignored this point. After thinking about it carefully, it seemed that the demon sea realm had indeed encountered a development dilemma. It's no wonder that in their anger, all the great powers gathered together and joined forces to kill the clan of guides in the Fanyang realm passage. Even if it's hard for me to live with you, don't even think about it. In this case, the hatred becomes deeper. Why? Unconsciously, Zuyun sighed. Mo Dong smiled and said, Zuyun, you are also from the Fanyang realm, but you are just immortal. Otherwise, I will definitely have to ask you for other news. In fact, I also have the same thoughts as you, especially recently. I can't wait till it's time to leave this island and leave the demon sea realm. Hearing this, Zuyun couldn't help but look up and asked in surprise, didn't you say it's difficult to leave? It's easy to leave, but it's difficult to find a place to stay. Big things have happened in the demon sea realm recently. Maybe, for those deist masters of Jadan, nascent soul demon lord is a good thing, but for us low-level monks in the world of immortality, it may be, What a disaster! What, something big happened in the Demon Sea realm? Zuyun was confused and asked, is the sea monster coming? At that time, he was taken to the seaside by the Zhangdao Venerable, and when he met the five elements Sanren, he heard that there was a giant monster in the sea. That kind of giant monster is as powerful as those in the tribulation period. It can cause huge waves without even using magic. Now he is extremely sure that the wild sea areas are connected. Perhaps these sea monsters can reach any sea area? But even if they can't reach it, it won't be difficult for the sea monsters to come to the waters of this world and destroy some islands with the Monster King's realm. No matter which realm, for a minor chi practitioner like Mo Dong, it is indeed a disaster. It's not a siren, but... Mo Dong smiled bitterly and said, you have also seen that the island owner even collects such ordinary elixirs, but it is actually to prepare for big events. Since Zuyun comes from Liukan, you must have heard of Elder Yan, right? Zuyun suddenly had a bad premonition and asked quickly, Elder Yan of Luyun sect? Yes, Mo Dong did not shy away and said bluntly, a few days ago, there was a rumor in the sea area that Elder Yan was sitting by the poison dragon pond, doing something unknown, but those powerful seniors in the sea area had their thoughts moved. Because Elder Yan is in charge of the spiritual world channel in Fanyang realm, he can predict the exact opening time of the channel. Therefore, all the demon gates in the sea area gathered together, and finally captured Elder Yan in the sea area after a hard battle. Said, they were kidnapped on our Moxie Island. What? Zuyun was shocked and stood up suddenly. If he hadn't met the old man by chance due to an unexpected incident, the first thing he would do when he came out of the poison dragon pond would be to find Lu Ruyan. But who would have thought that Lu Ruyan had been captured by a group of demon cultivators? Seeing Zuyun's reaction, Mo Dong was not surprised. He completely felt that Elder Yan was a fairy-like figure in the Fanyang realm. Not to mention Zuyun heard the news, even if it was a monk in the Fanyang realm who heard about it. I'm afraid the reaction is similar. It can be said that all the Yuanying demon lords in the entire Demon Sea realm are on this Moxie Island. They take turns to guard Elder Yan, waiting for the spiritual world passage of Fanyang realm to open. Therefore, Elder Yan is temporarily safe. However, once the spiritual world passage is opened, all these demon lords will go there. No matter whether they can successfully reach the spiritual world, they will not stay in the Demon Sea realm. The cultivators of Fanyang realm will settle accounts with us later. What will be the fate of us except death? Zuyun naturally believed that there would be such a possibility. Judging from the degree of opposition between Fanyang realm and Demon Sea realm, he can even imagine what the fate of the human race in Demon Sea realm will be. It is even more likely that some ordinary mortals will also be affected. Then, how many Yuanying demon lords are there on this island? Zuyun took a deep breath and asked. It's not clear, but there are more than 30 major demon sects in the Demon Sea realm. If each demon sect has 3 Yuanying stage, I think there will be more than 100. Mo Dong said in a muffled voice and drank another glass of wine. These things can be told to Zuyun, in fact, it is no longer a secret. They dare not go to Fanyang realm without permission. The cultivators of Fanyang realm usually only move near the sea at most and dare not go deep into it. So until now, the people of Liu Yun sect do not know that Lu Ruyan was captured by the Demon Sea realm. For Liu Yun sect, Lu Ruyang is missing, and the 2 alchemists have also lost contact. They will not focus on Lu Ruyan at all. Paying pill is what most of the elders of Liu Yun sect care about. The last news they learned was that the alchemist went to the poison dragon pond. So, after waiting for a long time, all the elders of Liu Yun sect came forward and asked Lu Liangpen to take them to the poison dragon pond to search. Of course, they did not dare to enter the pond, but went to the pond to see the situation first to see if they could find their traces. And all this, the people of the Demon Sea realm did not know. They usually did not dare to dock, and now they gathered towards Moxie Island. Except for the Ice Demon realm, the situation of the two realms has changed subtly. Zuyun did not know all this. What he was worried about was whether the old man would follow him and affect Lu Ruyan. Zuyun, Brother Mo is unsure now. You have been to many places. Why don't you give Brother Mo a suggestion? At this time, Mo Dong suddenly spoke again, interrupting Zuyun's meditation. Zuyun hurriedly said, Brother Mo, please speak, I will see if I can help you. Mo Dong smiled and said, now I want to survive, I can only leave the Demon Sea realm. But when I reach the Fanyang realm, there are only two ways to go. One is to destroy my cultivation and become immortal. Then there will be no cultivators in the Fanyang realm targeting me, but when mortals encounter danger, they lose the ability to respond. The second is to sneak into the Fanyang realm and then go to the Ice Demon realm through the Fanyang realm. Although it is cold there are very few cultivators. I think I can survive and continue to practice. Zuyun's eyes were deep. In fact, these two choices were not wise. But obviously, Mo Dong had no way out. Just as he was considering and trying to find a third way for Mo Dong, there was a sudden gust of wind on the island, and spiritual energy surged. His eyes focused, and he felt an endless pressure flying towards him from the sea. But at the same time, in the depths of Moxie Island, countless black lights suddenly shot up into the sky, and all kinds of demonic energy also came towards this side. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I started my cultivation by picking up the immortal skills. Author, Banzuan Xianxia. Chapter 979. That old man is here. Moreover, he also alerted the powerful nascent soul on Moxie Island. Zuyun stood up suddenly, but saw Mo Dong looking at him in surprise and said, Zuyun, what's wrong with you? He was only in the chi refining stage, so it was impossible to sense the pressure directed at him and the nascent soul demon lord who was about to arrive. Brother Mo, it's not advisable to stay here for a long time. Go back to the seaside pier quickly. Zuyun said in a deep voice that Mo Dong might have taken advantage of his thoughts, but at least he had never had any real malice towards Zuyun. Naturally, Zuyun would not let him get involved in his grudges and lose his life in vain. Why, do you still have enemies on this Demon West Island? Mo Dong was disdainful and said, Zuyun, Brother Mo, although my strength is low, I know a lot of people. These decades of cultivation are not in vain. As soon as he finished speaking, the old man's voice rang loudly. You ants, how dare you come here to die? Get out now, or I will trample you to death. As soon as the words fell, the roof of the restaurant was instantly lifted off, and Zuyun and Mo Dong were exposed under the sun. Brother Mo, leave quickly. Zuyun raised his head slightly, his tone unquestionable. Mo Dong obviously heard the old man's voice. Although he didn't know who he was calling, he immediately took Zuyun's hand and said, Zuyun, don't be afraid, Brother Mo is protecting you. As he said that, he activated his magic power, pulled Zuyun and ran downstairs. He thought that Zuyun, knowing that he was immortal, would not be able to escape the spiritual influence of these monks fighting. But how did he know that the old man came here for Zuyun, and the ants he called were those in the nascent soul stage that he regarded as gods? Zuyun was even more surprised that Mo Dong would do such a thing, and he was actually pulled downstairs without noticing. Before he could make a sound, he heard another voice in the air. Are monks in the mortal Yang realm so arrogant? They are only in the nascent soul stage and come to our demon sea realm alone, yet they dare to call us ants? Dear demon lords, this person must be here to find out where Elder Yan is and kill people. Silence him and don't let him spread the news back to Fanyang realm. The person speaking is none other than the owner of Demon West Island. With an order, all the demon lords displayed their magical powers, and various magic spells were directed at the old man. The old man frowned slightly, and was even more surprised in his heart. The mortal sun realm, the demonic sea realm. This is not the grand realm of the eastern mortal realm. I was tricked by Zuyun again. Suddenly, he made a backhand palm, and it turned into thousands of giant palms, facing the attacks of these demon lords respectively. At the same time, he looked coldly towards Zuyun. A golden light shot out from his eyes and turned into a golden rock bird, roaring towards Zuyun. Zuyun, be careful. Feeling the overwhelming power, Mo Dong immediately gathered the little magic power in his body and pushed Zuyun away. But when he wanted to run away, he was cut in half by the golden rock. Brother Mo. This miserable scene was witnessed by Zuyun with his own eyes, and a lot of blood even splattered on his face. Mo Dong is in the chi refining stage, but his body is no different from that of a mortal. Under the lower abdomen, the Danshan was also destroyed. Even if he survived, he would still be a useless person. Hey! Mo Dong smiled miserably, but he could still make a joke. Zuyun, I don't need you to help me choose now, brother, I'll take the first step. After that, he coughed and laughed wildly. Zuyun was shocked in his heart, but even more so was boundless anger. He hates it. I hate why I lied to a chi refining monk. Even if I want to find out the information, then I just act like a mortal. Why do I pretend to be immortal? In the sky, all the demon lords didn't know why the old man would attack a minor chi refining cultivator. Of course, in their eyes, Mo Dong's state is no different from ordinary people. It's just right that he was distracted when he started. Everyone, kill this beast. Since Lu Ruyan can be placed on Moxie Island, it is obvious that the island owner also has a certain degree of prestige. With this order, all the demon kings used all their methods. In addition to demonic powers, many demon lords also used their natal magic weapons. For a moment, the sky was full of power, and they all bombarded the old man. Although the old man is strong, he is limited by the way of heaven. His spiritual power is only at the level of nascent soul, but the advantage is that his Yuan Shen is powerful, and at least his reactions can be as fast as the first line. If we were in the spirit world, I could crush Yuans to death with just a flip of my hand. Facing these attacks, the old man's eyes flashed with coldness and he chose to avoid the sharp edge for the time being. But the demon lords thought that the old man was afraid, and they all swarmed up, not sparing the magic power in their bodies, and bombarded the old man. The old man could only rely on the strength of his soul to deal with the demon lords. This also gave Zuyun a chance. Although Zuyun was furious, he did not lose his mind. No matter how strong his chaos power was, he could not convert magic power. If he flew into the sky rashly, not to mention how much chaos power he had in his body at this time, it would very likely attract these demons. The Siege of Zun. In contrast, he decided to stabilize Mo Dong's life first. With a thought in his mind, Zuyun took out a pill from the ring. Xiao Yuan Dan. This is the longevity pill made from rainbow leaves. At first, in order to save Yu Tangzi, he specially refined a few of them, but later kept one and kept it in the ring. The rest of the elixirs are not useless, but to Mo Dong, they are nothing more than poison. The chi refining period simply cannot bear the huge power of medicine. On the contrary, it is the Xiaoyuan pill, which can be taken by any monk. Brother Mo, take this pill first. Zuyun stepped forward with the Chang Shengju, asking questions, but without waiting for Mo Dong to respond, he directly stuffed the pill into his mouth. He didn't know whether the Xiaoyuan pill would be useful for this kind of injury. But it's better to have it than not. Zhu, cough cough. Mo Dong was powerless to resist, and let Zuyun put the pill into his mouth. Feeling the huge medicinal power dissolving, the vitality was constantly revealed, and Mo Dong was stunned for a moment, and seemed to have forgotten the pain. Before this, he thought Zuyun was immortal. But how could a mortal come up with such a pill? Even though he was in the chi refining stage, he knew the extraordinariness of the pill. He opened his mouth, but couldn't say anything, because the huge medicinal power, although it couldn't restore his body, provided a huge vitality. At the same time, it also made him faint instantly. The bleeding has stopped, and the wound doesn't seem to be getting worse. I don't know if Xiao Aiwandan will give me a surprise, otherwise I will feel uneasy if he suffers this unexpected disaster. The whole restaurant has long been deserted. Who dares to stay here in such a situation? Zuyun carried Mo Dong to a room on the second floor. Although the room was already in a mess because of the old man, it was still on the second floor. After putting Mo Dong on the bed, Zuyun jumped out of the window. However, he did not flee to the seaside and leave the island. But he ran towards the depths of Moxie Island with the steps of Changshengju. Mo Dong said that Lu Ruyan was imprisoned in Moxie Island. Changshengju does not require spiritual power. The demon lords and the old man are fighting fiercely, so they will not notice him. Although the old man can chase him, he is entangled by the demon lords. He can just rescue Lu Ruyan first. As he expected. The old man was furious when he saw Zuyun running away, but these demon lords relied on their numbers and fought him on equal terms, which made him vent all his anger in front of him. Damn it, you demon ants! If he was in the spirit world, he only needed a thought to deal with these demon lords. But at this time, his attitude was nothing more than impotent rage in the eyes of the demon lords. A huge palace on the island. Maybe because of the huge fighting between the islands, all the demon cultivators were not here. Zuyun broke into it with the exquisite footwork of Changshengju. However, he also encountered a problem. Should I use my spiritual consciousness to find out where Lu Ruyan is? If I use it, there will be risks. If I don't use it, this palace is so big, how long will it take to find it? After a moment of hesitation, Zuyun's eyes suddenly lit up. Don't I know how to form a formation? It won't take much time to set up a formation to isolate my spiritual consciousness. Thinking of this, Zuyun kept taking out spirit stones from the ring. Without using spiritual power, he could only use his physical strength to release the spirit stones, and the speed was still much slower. But fortunately, there was still no one in the palace. After setting up the 9 transformations and 9 suns formation, Zuyun stepped into the formation, and then released his spiritual consciousness and began to search the entire demon palace. After a moment, his eyes fell on the bottom of his feet. Lu Ruyan, imprisoned in the dungeon. I started my cultivation by picking up the immortal skills. Author, Banzuan Xianxia. Chapter 980. Now that he could use the power of chaos with confidence, Zuyun was not polite and escaped directly from under his feet. Within a moment, his body was empty and he appeared in a basement. The basement was dark, with some iron racks hanging on the walls, and weak candles flickering on the racks. While using his spiritual sense, Zuyun discovered that this place was unguarded. Thinking about it, there must be some mysterious magic array trapping a nascent soul cultivator like Lu Ruyan in this underground chamber. Looking slightly focused, Zuyun discovered a huge disc-shaped stone sculpture. On top of the stone sculpture, a person is suspended in the air, with his hands and feet bound by 4 iron chains. Those familiar clothes and graceful figure, who else could it be if it wasn't Lu Ruyan? Lu Ruyan! Zuyun shouted low and teleported away immediately. When he reappeared, he was already floating in front of Lu Ruyan. Zuyun. Lu Ruyan seemed to be in a deep sleep. Hearing Zuyun's call, he slowly opened his eyes and was a little surprised. She knows where she is. But Zuyun found it here. For a moment, she seemed to be in a dream. Deep in the demon sea realm, in the wild sea, how could he find this place so accurately? It's me, I'm here to save you. Zuyun got straight to the point. The Chaos Sword was not in his hand, so he turned his palm into a sword and slashed at it with the power of chaos. Clang! A clear cry. But the iron chain was unscathed. Zuyun, this is made of black iron from the sea, and there is a magic formation engraved on it. How can you break it with your bare hands? You'd better leave quickly. There are more than 100 demon masters on this Demon West Island. Lu Ruyan took a breath and became more articulate, trying to persuade Zuyun. She knew her situation, but she didn't know what happened before. No, I promised Yayuan to take you away. Zuyun shook his head and said, let me think of something. Without the Chaos Sword, he had no magic weapon or spiritual weapon to take advantage of. Fen Tianyan suffered a great calamity, and now it has not been completely extinguished. It can only survive at the root of Zuyun's lotus root. He had no extra chaos power, so he turned into essence fire to burn the black iron. In the world of Dazhu, Xiaohuo is only at the Demon King level. Not to mention that this iron chain can trap Lu Ruyan. Even if Xiaohuo comes out, his demonic fire may not be able to burn it. There is no one available in the universe world. Zuyun frowned, but suddenly relaxed again. Why the universe? Isn't there still Xiaohe in my fairy mansion? I don't know how much well poison Xiaohe has refined after such a long time. Give it a try. Zuyun's heart sank, and he shouted Xiaohe in his heart. In an instant, a green figure appeared in front of Zuyun. Previously, there was only Xiaohe with a green hat and black clothes, but now he is dressed in green clothes. He is quite different from the lure whom Zuyun met in the early years. Master, I just refined all the venom, and you called me out. Xiaohe was in high spirits and his injuries had long since recovered. This made Zuyun very happy. He quickly said, see if you can dissolve this iron chain. Xiaohe became the poison true dragon and could no longer control the spiritual powers such as wind, fire, thunder, and lightning. However, if Poison had practiced to the extreme and used the power of his true dragon, he would probably be very powerful. I'll try. Xiaohe himself didn't know if it would work, so he spit out a ball of venom, used dragon power to concentrate it, and then attached it to the iron chain. But for a moment, a puff of green smoke came out of the iron chain, and at the same time, there was a sour and rancid smell in the air. Zuyun was overjoyed and said, it's feasible, it's completely feasible. Master, don't be too happy too soon. It may take an hour to break all 4 chains. Xiaohe's face glowed green, and his expression was a little solemn. In 1 hour, you can do a lot of things. Since Zuyun found him for help and was deep in the dungeon, he naturally did not dare to neglect him. It doesn't matter, leave the rest to me. Zuyun took a deep breath, sat down cross-legged, and then took out the 5 spirit pills from the ring. These elixirs were originally intended to be mixed into the 5 elements sect. But the situation is urgent now, so I can only take it first, which is better than nothing. Zuyun swallowed the 5 spiritual pills one by one like beans. In terms of his actual level, the effect of the 5 spirit pills is not very good, but it is much better than his direct chi refining. If an ordinary monk were here, Zuyun could completely avoid it and enter the immortal mansion. Since the old man had been away for a long time, he felt that the other party was incompetent and there was nothing he could do to him for a while. But Lu Ruyan, he wanted to take her away and deliver her to Yayuan. If she saw something and then told Yayuan, who knows what the madman would do? For example, use his hammer to smash his own mirror? Zuyun feels that this is entirely possible. After swallowing all the 5 spirit pills, Zuyun finally recovered the chaotic power of the 2 lotus hearts. He can also completely feel that these chaotic forces are not as pure as the chaotic forces in the void. But something is better than nothing. At least these chaotic powers allow him to use many methods. It seems that we should find a way to find the Chaos Sword as soon as possible, otherwise, the feeling of being unable to use our power will be too uncomfortable. Zuyun slowly opened his eyes and couldn't help but mutter. Looking up again, there was only one chain left. Lu Ruyan didn't speak, just stared at Zuyun blankly, not knowing what she was thinking. Another long time. There was just a click, and the last iron chain was broken. Lu Ruyan flew down from the round stone sculpture a little tiredly. Before she could thank Zuyun, she heard Xiao He say weakly, "Master, hurry up and send me off, I'm going back." Zuyun had already noticed that Xiao He was in poor condition, but there was no need to look further. Because Xiao He's green clothes turned into black clothes again. Although he didn't know the reason, he could only guess with a little thought. Maybe his energy and poison were consumed a lot. After sending Xiao He back, Zuyun said to Lu Ruyan, "Can you leave?" "It's good if you can," Zuyun nodded and said, "I heard Xiao He say that you came here with Lu Ruyang. Do you think Lu Yunzhou is still with you? After you leave this palace, you can lead the boat with him." "I leave." In order to prevent changes, Zuyun could only save his chaos power as much as possible. Good. Lu Ruyan let Zuyun make the decision. She recognized Xiao He, but she didn't know why Xiao He also used poison. She thought she had gained something else in the poison dragon pond. When Zuyun ordered Xiao He like this, he was even more convinced that Zuyun came from the spirit world. That's the spiritual world. Zuyun's strength is at least in the divine transformation stage. If you don't listen to him, who else can you listen to? There was still a road leading to the underground room. Lu Ruyan did not understand the method of earth escape, so the two of them followed the tunnel up. After appearing in the palace, Zuyun said, "I have set up an array here, so the demon lord can't sense the righteous spiritual energy in us, so when we get out of the formation, you can use all your strength to command Lu Yunzhou." "Ruyan knows." Lu Ruyan nodded. Although he was a little tired, it was more mentally than physically. After she was captured, she was trapped here. The magic circle on the black iron chain imprisoned her spiritual power, but she had almost no loss. Just before the two of them cautiously entered the battle, the old man was finally outnumbered. In desperation, he ignored Zuyun and had no choice but to leave. And the way to escape is naturally the talisman. This talisman is a teleportation talisman. Zuyun guessed right, this is the teleportation talisman that contains the avenue of space and is similar to the teleportation array. But in an instant, the old man disappeared out of thin air and appeared at the bottom of Poison Dragon Pond. When chasing Zuyun, he did not take the talisman away, but placed it in the Poison Dragon Palace and used it as a teleportation array. This boy is so insidious that he deceived me from the very beginning. This is not the East Mortal Realm at all. However, there is no doubt that this boy is from the East Mortal Realm. He spent a lot of time with those demonic cultivators. Look, I have to recover my spiritual power. Anyway, if the marks on that kid's body are not removed, I can find him at any time." The old man took a deep breath, then closed his eyes and began to concentrate on refining his energy. Even though he is in the Mahayana stage, he cannot escape the limitations of heaven in this mortal world. At the same time, Zuyun got on Lu Yunzhou. As the green light soared into the sky, the demon cultivators who were looking for the old man with bewildered faces immediately discovered them. The woman ran away. Daodi gave a startled shout, and all the demon lords gathered together again. If Lu Ruyan is allowed to escape and ascend to heaven, I'm afraid the Lu Yun sect will come with their entire clan. By then, let alone the passage to the spirit world, I am afraid that all of them in the demon sea realm will suffer a catastrophe. Chase. All the demon lords had no chance to breathe, and they all chased the green light.